Hey everybody, happy Monday. My name's Larry Jacobs. This is Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio on the 25th, I think. Oh, yeah, it is the last, amazingly, already the last Monday in September. Wow, that went fast. Okay, and that means winter's coming to Maine, okay, and it's not coming. We're going to be talking to a bunch of people down at Reading is Fundamental today. But they're expanding their work, and it's a great organization. Alicia Levy's here. She'll explain it all to us. Okay, and they've been on before. Alicia's been on many times. Okay, they've been expanding their work, and they do a lot of work in equity and inclusion, diversity, etc. They try to get books to people, books to kids, and now they're expanding their work through middle school. And Alicia's here, and also Jessica Jones, and Jessica is the middle school assistant principal at a school called the Inspired Teaching Demonstration School in Washington, D.C. And she also, I'm going to talk to Jessica about this, she's founder, and she'll get you over there on the web, of the Creation Gym, which is really interesting. I went to the right place on the web. Okay, she's a literacy advisor, a family advisor, okay, on the advisory board over at Reading is Fundamentals Middle School Family Literacy Advisory Board. That's a lot. So I'm looking forward to talking to Jess and Alicia, and we're going to archive the show over at ace-ed.org, where everything we do is, because we're the American Consortium for Equity in Education. So please go over to ace-ed.org. This podcast will be, like all our podcasts, this will be archived over there. Our magazine is over there. That's called Equity and Access Pre-K-12. We also have our Excellence in Equity Awards. Everything we're doing over there is free for educators. We'd love you to get involved in our award program and honor your colleagues, yourself, your school, whatever you would like. Just check out all the categories we have over there. Everything's free. All kinds of new information put up all the time over at ace-ed.org. My name is Larry Jacobs, and we are going to be talking to Alicia Levy and Jessica Jones. And I'm going to start with Alicia, returning guest. How you doing, Alicia?
I am good. I, with you, Larry, cannot believe that it is the last Monday in September. It's been a busy back-to-school season for sure.
It has. It has been. Speaking of back to school, with us is somebody who actually does that for a living. Hello, Jessica. I'm Larry.
Good morning. It's lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
I'm so excited that we are.
Where do you see me in person? I look just like Brad Pitt.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
Thank you. Jess, it's great to have you here, both of you here, I got to say. I'm really excited about this. Good way to start the week. But, Jessica, I have to ask you a couple of questions, okay, before we get back to Reading is Fundamental. I went over to an Instagram site for the Creation Gym, which seemed like I was in the right place. Was I in the right place? Tell me what that is.
Yeah, you were in the right place. So the Creation Gym is part community, part education. What I want to do is provide a space for artists in the community to come together, share their art forms, share their skills, and also make it available to students and kids who are young, who are just getting into art and really want to hone their skills, so little workshops and things like that. And then for the education side of it, we do a lot of consulting. We consult with private programs in schools to try to provide professional development to their teachers for arts integration, but also for cultural inclusion to make sure that their programs are really addressing the communities that they serve.
Wow, you got a lot going, and all this is happening in good old Washington, D.C., which should be shut down next week. Traffic should be later next week. Okay, traffic should be later.
I'm hoping so. If that, that would be an anomaly, but I'll take it.
It's not funny, but of course we have to laugh at politics these days. It's just ridiculous. Question 2, again in Washington, at the Inspired Teaching Demonstration School. That's where you're the middle school assistant principal. All right, and I went over to that website too, and it's pretty darn cool. So why don't you brag a little bit about that place? Go ahead,
Yes.
Jeff.
So the Inspired Teaching Demonstration School was founded in 2009, really by a group of educators at the Inspired Teaching Center. And what they really wanted to do is make sure that the best practices in education were shared with all communities, no matter who they served, with policymakers and with those community members. So they created a demonstration school that really let the community come into the school. So we serve demonstration-wise by hosting monthly tours and bringing different people of different arenas. For example, like the Saudi Arabian embassy came to see how kids in America learn. They came to our school. Wow. We did a residency with Michelle Obama. It's really nice that we try to bring everyone who could impact, anyone who could be a stakeholder into our classrooms to see what is the potential for education when the proper resources and the proper, practitioners are put in front of these kids. So that's what the school really, focuses on.
Yeah, you just nailed it in that whole statement. When we make it available to these kids, every kid learns. Is this a D.C. public school or is it a charter school? Well, public schools are charter schools, but what kind of school is it? How's it set up within the structure of education in D.C.?
Yeah, we are a public charter school, but we're also a residency school. So we also host resident teachers. So we teach them how to become master teachers in the field.
Good job, I got to tell you. And, I'll say it again because I'm reading a book called The Death by Kara Fitzpatrick. It's a brand new book called The Death of Public Education. And I'm going to be interviewing her later on this week. And, I was thinking as we were reading this, as I was reading the book, that, public education is out there, but the beginning of the book talks about, 1954, Brown versus Board of Education, Little Rock, all that sort of stuff. And, I'm thinking it has never worked well for the socioeconomically deprived communities, the African-American communities, those type of things. It's never worked well. It's always been under-resourced. And as such, we have a stereotype about it, okay? It works great in the suburbs, okay, but it doesn't work great in the city. And I love the fact that you're doing this, and it's just a shame that we have to have people like you set up these great schools that prove what we should have known since the very beginning. That's my speech for today, but it's just, I hope I said it right, but it's aggravating when I think about it. Congratulations on trying to solve the problem. It's just ridiculous.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, I think it's important that we make sure that, great educational experiences are accessible to everyone. And it's really a shame if we can't make that happen in a place where we say that we value equality and freedom and all those things.
Easy to say. I'll tell you that it's easy to do. We just don't do it. There was and Alicia, you'll love this. I don't know whether you guys saw the school busing programming last week on PBS. And all they had to do was to solve the problem without any aggravation was just make the schools in the black neighborhoods, get them resources. That's all the parents wanted. And what it developed into was this giant busing war with people throwing rocks at school buses with kids. It was nothing. It was just, let's just give them the money they need. Okay, they're in our community. Why don't we do that? It's absolutely unbelievable. So I congratulate you, Jess, on doing this. I really do. And now I'll go over to Alicia. You're welcome. And Alicia, thank you for finding Jessica. Now tell us about Reading is Fundamental, which is whom I just started to develop the show with. Go ahead, tell us about that. Then we'll talk about how you're working with Jessica.
Well, Reading is Fundamental is, as you know, Larry is the nation's leading children's literacy organization. We've been around for 56 years, really dedicated to doing exactly what you just said, bringing books and literacy resources to under-resourced communities. All they need is help. All they need are the resources and the opportunity, right? There's not a parent or educator out there that doesn't want their children to succeed, and we help boost that opportunity through reading, because I think we can all agree reading is the fundamental building block for learning. And so RIF stays deeply focused on that mission. And we find experts like Jessica who has, I think, the most outstanding name ever. Her superpower, she's a Marvel superhero, but our Jessica's superpower, you heard all about it, right? I mean, and that's what RIF does. We find experts in the field who can model and demonstrate opportunity that we can then take out to communities nationwide. We are so lucky and so honored to have Jessica as part of our advisory board. She has helped, and the other members of that board have helped shape how we bring solutions to communities nationwide. And we're super lucky to have her superpower with us.
You certainly
so
are
flattered.
taking all. I got to tell you. And by the way, you said RIF does this and RIF does that. RIF, everybody, is reading is fundamental. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that. RIF. Okay, acronym RIF. Okay, RIF.org, by the way, is the website. Okay, and I have to ask, how does a school, Alicia? I just want to get this out. How does a school or a school district get in touch with you? What do they do?
All they have to do is call 1-800-RIF, RIF, read, and just call us. We reach out to schools all the time. You can come to our website, RIF.org, and learn more. And we proactively reach out to schools and communities across the country as well. We are lucky to have partners. They are individual contributors, they're corporate partners, state and federal partners, all committed to providing solutions for kids and communities nationwide. And so if you're a school adjacent program, an after-school program, a faith-based organization, if you're committed to supporting children in your community with reading at your focus, then reach out to us, and we're always adding to our network. We call our network literacy advocates. These literacy advocates take all kinds of shapes and sizes, but if you want to participate in changing a child's life through the power of reading, then we want to partner with you.
Changing a lot of kids' lives. And I have to ask this. I just read another little article. Well, it was a fairly large article about book banning across the country. And then you have the lunatic and CR critical race theory argument, which is beyond comprehension. Okay, and all that stuff. The culture wars. And reading is fundamental. You're working to get kids reading, and obviously that includes a lot of work about diversity so everybody can kind of see themselves in there, et cetera, et cetera. What's the word on all that and how that's affecting what reading is fundamental does? If I may ask the great political question these days. It's so nuts. Yeah.
Well, it's impossible not to have a conversation that doesn't tie to these issues. And at the end of the day, what Reading is Fundamental is focused on is empowering choice, empowering access. We do not limit access or choice on the types of books that are available to children in communities nationwide, but we empower and we help build capacity for parents and educators through our middle school family literacy initiative, for example. We host parent back to school nights and activities. We provide resources for parents so that they can make informed choices. We create opportunities for educators through our Every Book Counts series. We have free webinars available throughout the year and free resources available at RIF.org that help educators make informed decisions on how to best serve the children in their community. So what do we
actually, could you send that to the politicians? Could you send that? The educators don't need it. It's the politicians who need it. Just ridiculous.
Well, we believe that reading provides learning opportunities, and why would we limit learning opportunities for anybody? But we also
there's a question
that it's about choice and access, and that's, we stay very focused on that mission.
Good. Have you gotten any flack at all before we get into more stuff? But have you gotten any flack on any of this? Yes. I hope not.
Well,
but maybe you have.
I would say everybody. Everybody gets feedback, and what we do is we absorb that feedback and we make sure that we stay very focused on our mission. We intersect a child's reading journey in a very particular point. Our job, our mission is to create joy, to encourage children to read, to motivate them, to engage them. And we want to create those opportunities in any way that we can, whether it's through a print book, a digital book, a graphic novel. The format shouldn't matter. It should be format inclusive, and it should be resource inclusive. So for us, when we get pushback, and of course we do, everybody does, we absorb that feedback and we stay focused on our mission.
Good. And keep it up, by the way. It's so wacky out there right now, and we need groups like yours and schools like Jessica's to make good things happen. And now I want to swing over. Jessica is, let me get this straight. You're the RIF, the Reading is Fundamental Middle School. Wait, let me get this straight. You're at the RIF Middle School Family Literacy Advisory Board member. That's what you are. You're advisory board member. Okay, Jess. Okay, I want to ask you this: how and Alicia brought this up in just a minute ago. The word family is in there. Okay, you're not just a literacy advisory board member. You're a family literacy board member. Talk about the importance, and you teach the kids every day, and you teach, in a big urban city. Okay, which I think is a redundant term in urban city, but we'll just move on from there. Okay. We'll move on from that one. Okay. How important is family in all this? So I think that's a key thing. And again, Alicia brought it up a minute ago. Talk about that, Jess. And you deal with it every day.
Yes, family is very much so paramount. Every day our kids come into our building and we spend 7 hours with them. But when they go home, they're spending time with their family. On the weekends, they're spending time with their family. And we really want that educational experience to continue. But also we want the partnership, especially when it comes to values. If your school values literacy and making sure that books are accessible to your students and that students have a love for reading and truly can understand the process and how to make connections with the texts that are in front of us, if they have those same values at home, that means that the pipeline never stops. They come to school, they're engaged, they're getting that information, they go home, they're engaged with their family, they're getting that information, and then it becomes memories. When you get older, I remember when my mom read me that, nighttime story, and I want to do that for my children. And that's how you can really continue that practice over and over when you make it a family tradition, a family value, to be engaged with literacy, but also just in general to be engaged with, academics and really adding to their abilities and information that they know, knowledge-wise.
Yeah, but it's true. Do you want to comment more on that, Alicia? Families, the role of families in all this.
For sure, and I so appreciate Jessica's perspective. She's a practitioner. She's on the front lines, right? She's dealing with this every day. But what we
she's not meanly disciplining the kids and giving them all detentions and making them sit. No, I'm kidding.
Yes. She's creating joy. She's keeping them engaged.
Exactly.
We talked about this when we chatted at the end of last year. The kind of post-COVID learning environment is a challenge for all. I fundamentally believe that the biggest impact, one of the biggest impacts that COVID will have, will be on this generation of learners. We came out of COVID and are observing, particularly for children in under-resourced communities, we're observing these kids that were coming back into middle school in particular. They'd lost up to 2 years of learning, fundamental, basic learning requirements, so that they had been taught to read. So as they moved into middle school, they could read to learn. So here's this huge generation of learners who don't have the baseline building blocks. And of course, that's not even addressing the existing literacy crisis before COVID, where such a high percentage of children were entering fourth grade not reading proficiently. So you build on all of that as you come out of COVID, and then you're putting all these young learners into middle school and flooding the zone with educators who haven't had the training they need to help these kids learn the fundamentals of reading. So
I was back then it was a junior high school, but I was a middle school teacher. Today I would be a middle school teacher, and I've taught history. And if somebody said to me, teach these kids to read, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Yeah. So,
that's exactly
I get
right.
that.
And it's not that you don't, for sure, and it's not that you don't want to be there to provide them with the tools they need. You don't have the resources and the tools you need.
I don't. So I didn't have the training. I didn't have anything. Yeah.
Exactly. So we piloted in 10 markets what we called the Middle School Family Literacy Initiative, and it addressed the post-COVID challenges, right, that students entering middle school were facing, that educators teaching these kids were facing, and with a deep recognition that families are a critical element to drive reading outcomes for children. And they needed the tools and the resources to help them. There's not a parent out there that doesn't want what's best for their kids, but they're facing the same challenges that educators for middle school students were facing, which is they don't know what to do. They know their kids need help, but they don't know how to help them. And of course, you know, if you're looking at a nationwide solution, every community has unique challenges. The parents in those communities face their own unique challenges. And so what we really tried to do with this program is take a broad look and see if we could provide scalable solutions that could be made available broadly. And so in standing up our advisory board with people with superpowers like our Jessica Jones. Jessica, you are not a Marvel superhero anymore. You are a superhero.
You're not a Marvel comic book character. You're just a Marvel. You're just a Marvel. Forget the comic book character.
Thank you.
That's exactly right. But we brought expert practitioners together to help us figure out, what do we need to do? What do people need? Yeah. What are the tools they need? And with again, as you mentioned, Larry, you were a history teacher, all kinds of subject matters that have to be addressed in middle school. But ultimately, these kids need the building block of reading to be able to learn.
Well, of course.
And that's what this program is focused on.
Absolutely. If kids didn't read when they got to me, they couldn't read, period, end of discussion. I had nothing to do with that. That's an English teacher's problem, okay, which, of course, it isn't. Okay, but that's the way we thought back then. It's unbelievable. So let me ask you this, okay? And I'll ask it to Jessica. You work, and I know you're on the board. Is the school using reading as fundamental? Jess, is the school using reading as fundamental?
So we use it in different capacities for sure.
Well,
one of those capacities is something that I worked on the board, which is the digital solutions team, and we use the literacy tracker a lot. That is something that they developed.
That's exactly what I'm asking. What I'm asking is, all the things Alicia's saying are great, okay? But in actuality, okay, and this is where I want you to expand on this, okay? What's actually happening? I call reading as fundamental. They're going to send me 35,000 books and leave me alone? No, obviously not. So talk about all the things, how reading is fundamental. I'm going to ask Alicia to add to this, but at your school, the Inspired Teaching Demonstration School in D.C., how are you using reading as fundamental? Get into that nitty-gritty, and then I'm going to ask Alicia to expand that.
So, like I was saying about the digital solutions team, they created a literacy tracker, and the literacy tracker allows both educators, teachers, and students to have access to how students are developing within their literacy skills. It gives teachers a platform where they can track data, where students can engage in text on their level. It also allows families to look in and say, how's my child doing? How are they increasing in these skills? You know, what do I need to work with them on at home? And through this literacy tracker, we're able to keep up with all that in a way that is easy and family-facing, student-facing, and teacher-facing. Another way is the Books for Ownership program. Reading is Fundamental gives out 40 million books to children, and that kind of relates exactly to what she was just talking about how during COVID, the access to actually having book ownership in your home, having three free books to take home with you to have in your home and share with your family is essential, because it gives students what they need in the house. You have books at school, you have books at the library, but you also need books in your home. And so through that book ownership program, it really gives access to different families of all different types of income to be able to have books that their students choose. And in our work in the advisory board, what we do is we look at the books that are coming out. We look at different authors, different publishers, and we hand select topics that are going to be culturally relevant. We hand select books that kids are really picking up, and we're seeing that a lot of kids are enjoying, so that those books are the ones that are available for free, not just the books that didn't get sold on the shelf, but the books that are the high choice books that students are really reading. And another way I would say is just trying to get student voice and input. We surveyed 4,800 kids, not just at my school, but all around, to try to get information about what do they want, what do they need, and making sure that we are hitting those targets rather than doing fruitless efforts. We're hitting the targets that kids themselves have said that they want access to. And little things like bookmarks and posters to remind you to read and pick up a book with, catchphrases that are culturally relevant. Those are really nice as well. So there's many ways that we're getting engaged with RIF, but those are just some of those.
Yeah, it's also good, and which I have the feeling. Okay, would you call your school an under-resourced school? I have a feeling that would be no. You're a pretty well-resourced.
Sorry,
school,
could you repeat that? Our school is a what kind of school?
We're under-resourced. You are not an under-resourced school.
Yes.
You're a well-resourced school.
At all. Yes.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to clear that up for people.
When I started at Inspired, I was a teacher. And one of the things I noticed right away was that I didn't have to go into my pocket for anything. And that was a huge difference in my experience at other schools. Everything was supplied to me.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's saying something. That is really saying something. And I didn't know that. Did you start the school?
No, I didn't start the school, but I did start as a teacher there, and then I became an assistant principal.
Got it. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that. Alicia, expand a little bit on reading is fundamental and how you work with schools. In other words, what can a school expect?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And I think, you heard Jessica earlier say her school's a demonstration school. One of the things that reading is fundamental really focuses on is sharing what we learn and modeling those resources out to every school so that everyone has access.
Good.
We do not limit. So our website at RIF.org, you can click on Literacy Central, which is a free resource for educators that supports literally thousands of books with engagement resources, interactive puzzles, vocabulary scaffolding, lesson plans, family engagement resources. That's available for free. So all the resources that we're able to create in these demonstration schools in partnership with these experts in communities across the country, we then make available for free on our website. In addition to that, we create these remarkable, enrichment resources. We create campaigns just this month. This coming month, we're launching our Rally to Read initiative, encouraging kids across the country to read books. As part of that program, there are read-alouds and resources and themes that include lesson plans and family engagement resources. There are great authors that are participating. All of these resources at rallytoread.org are available for free. Kids can take a pledge to read books. Wow. There are reading logs. There are tools and resources. You heard Jessica mention our literacy tracker tool. Yeah. Most schools across the country are going to be familiar with these leveled reading programs, but they cost a lot of money. We want to level the playing field, so we've created a free leveled reading tool that allows kids to come in and select an area of interest that's particularly engaging to them, sports or whatever, and then it'll serve up reading passages and allow the student to kind of progress based on their performance. So a lot of engagement and tools and resources that are available at RIF.org. And you can click through the website. It's pretty straightforward. That'll get you to the places that you need to go. But ultimately, it's about access and to Jessica's point, for those schools that aren't under-resourced, it's great additional support. But we really deeply focus on those schools that don't have the benefit of these tools and resources. And these tools are available for everybody: parents, families, community leaders, educators. It's a free resource that's available to all.
I wish you could see my face, because what you just described and what Jess was describing, it's what school's all about. This is what school's supposed to do. All right, and you're making this available to everybody. There shouldn't be a school in the country who's not using it and who's not looking at this, any school who's having trouble can start to cure that. Okay, it's just fascinating to me that there's a world of education out there, but we have to go outside that profession. If I'm saying this the right way, we have to use an outside source to do exactly what you're doing, what the schools should be doing. I mean, you guys should be so proud of yourself to fill that gap. It's unbelievable. The more you say it, the more unbelievable it gets that we're in a situation where schools aren't doing this. That you guys have to do it for them. It's unbelievable. Thank you very much. Is that my speech for today? Alicia. It's unbelievable.
Well, I will say this, Larry. NGOs are a critical component, right? Public-private partnerships are super important, and ultimately,
they are.
What RIF focuses on is addressing those gaps, creating joy, and really driving the importance of reading for students nationwide. And we will. My favorite joke, Larry, is I'm done with my job when every child reads, and my deep hope is at some point I will work myself out of a job. I will.
You never will,
remain
unfortunately.
optimistic. I'm not sure I'll do it.
I know you're
in my
optimistic.
lifetime,
I am
keep
too.
Trying.
But you won't. And that actually is my next question. I'm going to ask Jessica this. Jess, are you having trouble these days where kids are so locked into their computer screens, etc.? Are you having trouble getting kids? Is there any trouble with getting kids to read? I mean, it's incredibly important.
I would say it has increased in difficulty, but it's not much different than it always has been. I feel like students, for the most part, are going to be interested in what's most available to them and what's most in front of them. And because every kid has a phone, the access to the phone is so easy, it's available. And so if we show them that the access to their favorite books are just as easy as, going to an app or picking up a book, then they're just as engaged with the work, especially if it's something that they already are inclined to. And so, like, for example, I did my webinar with RIF on radio theater, because to me, the audiobook is a pathway for some kids to falling in love with literacy. And that's on your phone, that is something accessible. And maybe you're not really into, like, reading a whole chapter book. So we start you out with an audiobook and get you really engaged with the characters' voices and how, alive the dialogue can feel in a book. And then slowly but surely, you're picking up that book without the audiobook, and you're really falling in love with the characters, and you're able to make these connections with the films that, are often made about books as well. So it is possible to get kids engaged. It's a little bit more difficult because of how accessible phones are, but when you show them they can access those things on their phone as well, you begin to, increase the interest a little as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we just got to make it happen. Alicia, what do you find? I'm just curious. That was a great answer, Jess. What are you finding? Do kids still like to read?
I think that kids don't sometimes realize that they're reading, and we have to empower them to recognize that if they're playing a video game with subtitles, they're reading.
Yeah.
If they're looking at graphic art on the side of a building, they're reading. If they're reading a menu at McDonald's, they're reading. We need to celebrate those things. We need to empower them, and we need to be platform inclusive. We need to enable them to have the opportunity to read and recognize that they're making progress. We also have to make sure that we provide them with books and literacy resources that are diverse, that they can see themselves in, and the experiences of others in. And ultimately, that's what engages a child. I'm interested in this because I can relate to it. And we've got to make sure that we continue to provide them with relatable resources, because that's what creates engaged and lifelong readers.
I never asked Ben, you're exactly right. Don't jumping on that, but I got to ask you this, and I don't know the answer to this, and I don't know if it's even. When I was a kid, we learned to read with characters called Dick and Jane. Everybody kind of remembers those, okay? But obviously they were white kids in the suburbs or wherever the hell they lived, okay? But it was the perfect household, and with Mother, Father, and Butterball, and whatever the dog's name is, okay? And I'm curious, are there characters like that for like African American kids or Latino kids? Jess, do you know? Have they created that character that allows kids to? I don't know. I was curious.
I would say instead of there being like a Hallmark character, there are several. There are many. For example, Jason Reynolds in his books like Ghost, that character for a lot of kids is one that really comes alive in the book Ghost, and they love that. And I hear kids talk about it all the time. Hair Love, I hear a lot of younger elementary kids talk about that book and how they relate to that character. It really all depends on the interest of that student, but there's characters for everyone now. It kind of feels like that's kind of what we try to do in our middle school advisory council. It's like finding those books that have those characters that speak to the lives of the kids that we're serving and connecting them with those books, and then letting them run and enjoy, meeting those people through the text.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I think back when I was a little kid, I mean, a long, long, long time ago, and I could think of, I went to school in Philadelphia, and I think of the black kids in the city of Philadelphia reading about Dick and Jane. Believe me, they must have gone, who the hell are these people? Okay? I didn't even know. You know? It was
yes,
just unbelievable when you think about it.
Yeah. Growing up, it was hard to find characters that looked like me.
Wow.
And it's so amazing. It's astonishing to me to see how many characters in the books look like me now. And it feels really great because I know that, you know, kids are also having that experience, you know.
And all those, they look like you now, so they're all wearing a cape because you're a superhero.
Exactly.
But the other thing I would add to this discussion that I think is really important, right? Like, as this generation of learners consume information in a very different way than we certainly did as we were growing up and learning. I'll use a very personal example. I have 3 children. They are all outstanding. I couldn't be more proud. The most amazing thing my husband and I will ever do are those 3 children. But there's a 10-year gap between my older 2, who just finished college, and my youngest, who is just starting high school. Well, thank you. I'm very proud. But even in my personal experience, I'm watching this 10-year gap, and the way my youngest is learning and consuming information and reading is so different than their siblings who are just 10 years older than them. And so when we think about not just the content of the books that are provided, but the way we provide it, the way we reach these kids, the way we create opportunity for them and interest and engagement, and I'll say it again, joy, a reason to want to read, we have to be innovative. We have to be creative. It's not just getting that Dick and Jane book or that Hair Love book in front of them. It's about it's finding where they are and capturing their attention with opportunities to read. And that, I think, is our challenge as educators, as we look, and parents and decision makers, as we look to the future. It's learning from how we did it in the past, but really recognizing that we have to meet kids where they are and how they learn today.
And that's exactly what we need to say that to everybody, including teacher education schools. They have to be very, very aware of this as they're teaching reading and teaching teachers how to teach reading. Okay? It's a whole different world out there. Ladies, we got to go. This has been more fun than I can tell you. Okay? It's a great way to start the week. Jessica, thank you, and good luck fighting crime.
It's my absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And you guys are welcome. Let me just say it this way, Alicia, you're welcome here anytime, both of you. Okay? So stay in touch.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks so
guys.
much.
This was great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Great. Well, everybody, aren't they great? Reading is Fundamental is at RIF.org, and please check it out. Okay? And thank God there are places like this, and they're not the only ones who are working hard to make sure kids are literate. All right? And thank you, Jess. It's great to meet you. All right, we're going to archive the show over at ace-ed.org, and if you need me, I'm at Larry at ace-ed.org. That's because my name is Larry Jacobs, and this is Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio. Thanks for listening.